Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm RDF. Today's video, we are going to be looking at Thomas Tuchel tactics at Chelsea in Football Manager. We are going to try and replicate that, and this tactic is something that I'm very proud of. So the aim is to capture the key tactical ideas from real life into Football Manager. We can't, of course, replicate every single thing. We want to play nice football. We want to be a strong and solid side and play exactly like Thomas Tuchel in Football Manager. And if you are enjoying my type of content, make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment if you have any tactical recommendations, but all of that also helps with the algorithm. And the OneFootball app is sponsoring this video, so make sure you check this fantastic app out. OneFootball have been amazing enough to sponsor this video, and what I need for you guys to do is check out the app. The link will be in the description. It's fairly easy to do. You can download it via the link, or you can use the barcode on the screen. The app is a great footballing app. It's where you can check the latest statistics, the latest football news. You can also watch some live free games. Yes, you heard me right. You can watch free games live for free on the footballing app. It's my favorite place to keep up to date with the most recent football news. You can also find some fantastic analysis and match reports on the OneFootball app as well. If you're attempting to replicate tactics like I do on this channel, you can also use this app to grab the latest match stats and all of that good stuff. So make sure you check out the app. The link is in the description, but also you can use the barcode on the screen, and trust me, you will not regret downloading this app. So like I touched on in the intro, we are going to be focusing on getting those main tactical ideas, because in Football Manager, we can't replicate every single thing, and some things we may have to compromise. When it comes to compromising with this tactic, I will of course explain the reasons why I selected certain things and the reasons why I didn't select certain things in Football Manager, because again, it's very hard to replicate every single thing. But with this Thomas Tuchel tactic, the main things that we really want to grab in FM is the build-up shape. Of course, Chelsea can build up slightly in a 3-1-1-5 with the back three, with sometimes Jorginho holding his position in front of that, with Kante in between Jorginho and the front five, which of course the fullbacks will be pushing up higher to interact with the front three. When Chelsea win the ball, instead of the whole team countering, it's really only the front three that make their counter movements and run further forward, whilst the rest of the team will hold their shape. One thing I've noticed as well, especially in that Leicester and Burnley game, that Kante has been given more of an attacking role in that central midfield. That's not to say that he's now a central attacking midfielder, but he has been given more of a license to break further forward and also provide a more versatile link between the midfield stage and the attacking stage. Chelsea don't press intensely, nor do they really counter-press. Their PPDA so far this season is on 13.13, which is less intense than the league's average at 12.38. Their challenge intensity is around 6 as well, which is at the league's average, which is measuring their duels, tackles and interceptions per minute of the opponent's possession. The front three, most recently with Havertz during the Burnley and Leicester game, they do like to roam and interchange. If Havertz drops, one of the central attacking midfielders will get further forward. Similarly, if one of the attacking midfielders decides to drift out wide, then Havertz can drop deep and occupy that space that was previously occupied by the attacking midfielder. Chilwell's movements as well down that left flank is certainly intriguing. They do play with two wing backs, but you would notice that at times Chilwell does like to make those central runs, and he does like to underlap as well. That helps Chilwell or that left wing back get inside the box, and as we've seen so far this season, Chelsea's wing backs have done exceptionally well in the attacking third. Chelsea do like to build up with patience and utilise shorter passing. They do have the second best pass completion at 86.5%, with the first highest average possession as well at 58.2%, demonstrating Chelsea like to keep the ball. Not just to keep possession for possession's sake, but they are a possession-based side. And lastly, Chelsea do favour that right-hand side. Reece James had 105 touches, which was the most for Chelsea in their last Premier League game away to Leicester, whilst Chilwell in comparison only had 67 touches of the ball. So again, that can highlight that Chelsea do favour the right hand side, but also looking at the pass map as well, we can see that Chelsea clearly do favour that right hand side. But that's enough of me talking about the key ideas that I want to implement into Football Manager. We are now going to go into the game to have a look at the tactic and talk about it in more detail. So now let's head over to Football Manager. So here we are in Football Manager, and like my most recent videos, instead of just putting a tactic in front of your face, we are going to try and build it whilst I walk through each step. So straight away, it's always going to be about the shape. We need to find the perfect shape. So we can go to the 3-5-2 just because it's got 3 at the back, and then of course we can move some players about. So of course we do want those 2 attacking midfielders, so we pull one of the strikers down and we'll move one of the central midfielders into the attacking midfield area and move that striker in that central striking area. So already we have our 3-4-3 or our 3-2-2-2-1, whatever people like to call it these days. I would just go for the 3-4-3, it just makes life simpler. So here we do have the main shape, but in the final tactic we do have a defensive midfielder. We have moved one of the central midfielders into that defensive midfield area, basically the Jorginho role, covering the back 3. But this also helps us gain that 3-1-1-5 shape when we are trying to build up and in that creation phase as well. So for me, once we have that shape that we're happy with, it's time to move over to those team instructions. So now we can really start to implement that style of play. For the mentality, of course, we're going to go with a positive mentality. We are going to be moving the ball around the park, patiently probe the final third to find space as and when it opens up, which kind of describes Chelsea whilst they are in possession of the ball. So we are going to be using that positive mentality. We are, of course, going to be playing out from the defence. That is going to be vital. Chelsea do like to play out from the defence. The centre-backs won't necessarily clear the ball once they receive the ball in possession. And also when the ball is with the goalkeeper, he will tend to look for the central defenders, while the central defenders would then either look for the inside of midfield or they will look out wide to one of the fullbacks, mostly Reece James on that right hand side. So of course we are going to be playing out from the defence, but the attacking width is also very important, and for me we do have this on extremely wide. We are trying to utilise those wider areas, and for me it was most important to try and get the ball down to Reece James. That right wing back, he needs to be on the ball a lot because we are trying to replicate that Thomas Tuchel tactical idea. So we are trying to get the ball out into those wider areas, but also this helps stretch the pitch. And what you would notice that when the ball is on the right hand side or the left hand side, you would notice that we are stretching the opponent's defence, but this also gives space for those 2 attacking midfielders who are operating in between the lines. It just gives them more space, it gives them more room to run into those channels as well. So you are also unlocking those 2 attacking midfielders when you are approaching that final third. So the attacking width on extremely wide, for me it helps both in possession when we are trying to unlock the opposition, but also when we are building up to get the ball out to those wider flanks. The passing directness, we've set this to much shorter, so we are going to be trying to retain the possession, but with the tempo we are going to be using slightly higher, try and get the ball from the defence to attack. Not necessarily quick, but like I said before, we don't want possession for possession's sake. We do want to be useful whilst we are on the ball. And that for me basically wraps up in possession. Now you can use underlap on the left to try and get Chilwell to make those underlapping runs, and you can use focus down the right to try and get more focus down the right, but I didn't really find any use in these. I didn't think it was needed. These naturally happen during play anyway. In transition, when the possession has been lost, though Chelsea don't necessarily counter-press intensely, we are going to be using that counter-press instruction. This is just mainly going to help us win the ball back after losing it, so we can be in possession again, making Chelsea more of a possession-based side. I felt that with regroup, we just got back into our shape and we just allowed the opponents to have the ball, which of course gives us less time on the ball as well during the 90 minutes. But when the possession has been won, we are going to be holding our shape. The only 3 players that we really want to be making those forward movements are the 2 attacking midfielders and the striker. So when the possession has been won, we are going to be holding our shape. And when the goalkeeper has the ball, we are going to be looking to distribute the ball to the centre backs by taking those short kicks. Lastly, for out of possession now, it is key to try and get something that works in Football Manager whilst also trying to replicate things from real life as well. Of course, we can't replicate every single thing, but at times we do have to compromise to try and make certain things in Football Manager basically work. So what I've did is use offside trap. Now, this is a compromise. This isn't what really happens in real life, but in Football Manager, I feel that this makes you defensively more solid. For the line of engagement, we are going to be using a higher line of engagement. So we do want the attacking players to kind of press more intensely than the deeper area players as well. So I feel that the higher line of engagement, but with the standard defense line, it kind of works perfectly with this tactic. The defensive width, we are going to keep it on standard. With the trigger press, we are going to be using more often, but again, nothing too intense. We aren't necessarily a heavy pressing side. And it's also important to prevent those short goalkeeper distributions as well. So for me, that wraps up the team instructions. This is how I have my Tuchel tactic in FM22. The attacking width is set to extremely wide. Try and utilize those wider areas, but also stretch the opponents. We are going to be playing out from the defense with a much shorter passing directness and a slightly higher tempo. In transition, we are going to counter press, not intensely, but we are going to counter press to try and win the ball back. And when possession has been won, we are going to hold our shape to try and give us more of a patient approach. When the goalkeeper has the ball, he's going to distribute it to the centre backs, take short kicks, and out of possession, we are going to engage high, but not very high, and we do have a more often trigger press rather than a much more often trigger press. Now for the player roles, for that Edouard Mendy role, we do have a sweeper keeper in goal. For the two wider centre backs, of course, we are going to be using those new roles. We are going to be using that wide centre back on defensive duty. Both of them are going to be on the defensive duty. I did try the wide centre back on the support duty, trying to get that Rudiger feel, but it was just a bit too much for me. He did get further forward, but way too often, of course, with that positive mentality. And in central defence, we are going to be using a central defender on the defensive duty, but we are going to be asking him to close down less and tackle harder. Again, this is something that I've noticed watching the match engine. This is something that we've had to compromise on. I do feel the central defender is more of a cover or a sweeper in real life than someone that's defending, but on Football Manager it does work better with the central defender on the defensive duty, but asking him to close down less and tackle harder. For that Jorginho role, we're not going to go with anything fancy. Instead, we're actually going to keep it on that defensive midfielder role with the support duty. We are going to be asking him to close more often, and we are going to be asking him to tackle harder as well, be more forceful in that challenge, but also the central midfielders in Tuchel's tactics are very, very key in winning the ball back for Chelsea. So the defensive midfielder on support is on more often, and he is going to be tackling harder as well. And the defensive midfielder's main duties are to protect that defensive line from breaking attackers by closing them down quickly and support the creative midfielders when in possession. With the support duty, the defensive midfielder will step in the midfield line and support the attacking moves. This works perfectly, especially for that Jorginho role as well. Now, for the wing backs on the left-hand side, we do have an inverted wing back on attack. My main focus was getting those central run movements as well. I really wanted those central run movements from the wing back. So that's the reason why I went with the inverted wing back role on attack duty. And for the right wing back, we do have a wing back on support, but we are going to be asking him to cross more often and take more risk. We do want the wing back, the Reece James player, to be more creative in possession and look to get those assists and be a threat in those attacking situations. So for the wing back on support on the right, he's going to be taking more risk and crossing more often. Now, in central midfield, the role that I selected for my final Thomas Tuchel tactic is the central midfielder on support. Again, nothing glamorous about this role, but he does the job absolutely perfectly. Now we are going to get him to close down more often, and we are going to get him to tackle harder again. The central midfielders are key in winning the ball back for Thomas Tuchel's side. Now, I've spoken before about Kante having more of an attacking role, not necessarily meaning that he's now a central midfielder on attack, but he does have more of an attacking responsibility. The central midfielder on the game is responsible for providing a versatile link between the defence and attack, and with the support duty, the central midfielder will look to balance his attacking and defensive responsibilities. So when he does feel the opportunity to get further forward, he will do so, but we don't necessarily want him to continuously get him further forward, because at times he will run in to that attacking midfielder just above him. We do want him to operate and protect that midfield area most of the time. And also in real life, when Chelsea are building up, he does like to move over to the right hand side again, giving that right hand side more of a focus, more of an overload on that right hand side, and with the attacking width stretched extremely wide, you will notice that your central midfielder naturally just moves over to that side once the ball is with your wing back, so he can basically be a passing option for your wing back on the ball. Now, in attacking midfield, the two players that operate in between the lines, those two Roman attacking midfielders, we are going to be using the attacking midfielder role for both of the players, and we are going to be using the attacking duty as well for both of the players. Now, in possession, they are going to be tackling harder, being more forceful in their tackles, but the attacking midfielder on the left-hand side will have the move into channels instruction, whilst the attacking midfielder on the right-hand side, he will also have tackle harder, but he will have stay wider. Again, giving that right hand side more of a focus, giving that right hand side more of an overload. This does help in stretching the opponents, but also it's going to help us replicating that Chelsea shape from real life. So in attacking midfield, we do have an attacking midfielder who's going to be staying wider and tackling harder, whilst the left hand side of the attacking midfielder is going to be moving into those channels. Now, lastly, this is a huge compromise for me, because I feel Havertz has been kind of a false nine, a deep line forward, someone that can basically drop deep, be a link, but also get further forward and be a focal point in the box as well. Now on Football Manager, this didn't work as great when I used a false nine or a deep line forward, and you will also notice that this gave our team literally no depth. So basically, instead of having players in different areas or different sections of the pitch, we were all cramped where everybody seemed to be operating in the middle third of the pitch, and that included the striker, and that gave us no depth. But also some players struggled in finding a passing option. But with advanced forward, you will notice that this gives us more depth. This will force the opponent's backline more deeper, and this also stretches the pitch, not making it so condensed and packed in the middle, but your striker will also look to pin back that defense, and this again gives space to those two attacking midfielders who are operating in between the lines. We do want those two attacking midfielders to have space to maneuver, to operate. That will help this tactic out immensely. So for the last role, we did go for the advanced forward, but what some people may not notice with the advanced forward, he's also kind of a creative player now. I'm not saying he's going to create like a false nine or a trequartista, but he will create also for your side. And it doesn't necessarily mean that he's not now going to hold up the ball. I will show you some clips where your striker is clearly holding up the ball, though he's on the advanced forward role. And that could also be helped because of the team instructions. With that much shorter passing directness, once he collects the ball, he's obviously going to be looking for a shorter option, so that can be a simple layoff. But also because we are holding our shape once the possession has been won, so once he collects that ball, his focus isn't to be direct and break further forward. He is told to be more patient on the ball, so again, that may cause him to knock the ball on before making a forward run into that box. So that there for me wraps up this Thomas Tuchel tactic, and you can see the finished article right here as well. Now we can look at the results and data to see how well this tactic done. In the Premier League, Chelsea are the champions. They played 38 with a goal difference of +69 and a points tally on 95. In the UEFA Champions League, we got knocked out in the quarter-final by Atalanta, slightly disappointing. In the UEFA Super Cup, we were the runners-up. In the Emirates FA Cup, we got knocked out in the fourth round by Manchester City, and in the Carabao Cup, we got knocked out in the quarter-final by Manchester United. You will notice in the Cups, we didn't do too well, and that is because heavy rotation. rotation is of course going to be needed to keep your players fresh. One fantastic thing about this tactic is that we won every single home game. We played 19 games at the Stamford Bridge and we won every single one of those games, only conceding 3 goals. It was the away record. I wouldn't say let us down because we did win the league, but with the away record, that would place us 4th in the league. We played 19, we won 11, we drew 5 and we lost 3. All of our losses came away from home. Those losses came away to Manchester City, away to Man United and away to Liverpool. 3 of the big teams that we do want to compete with, so it's slightly disappointing that those are the sides that we lost to. But we scored 42 goals and we conceded 18, still one of the better defences away from home. So we do have the most points per game. For the most goals we come in 3rd with 90, most shots for we come in 2nd with 704. For the fewest shots against we come in 3rd with 358, so defensively we didn't do too bad. For the best pass completion we come in 2nd with 91%, so that's nice to know that we are focused on being a heavy possession based side. Not heavy, sorry, but we are more of a possession based side, and as you can see with the average possession, we are 5th with 53%, only 3% behind the leaders 56 on Manchester City. Most tackles won, we are in 7th place with 623. For the most dribbles made, we aren't in the top 8, which is very good because we're not really supposed to be. Chelsea are far down in the list when it comes to dribbles in real life. Most clean sheets, we do top that list with 21, and for the fewest conceded, we do have the best defence in the league with 21. So now here we are in our data hub where we can analyse some of the stats. For the general performance, you can see that we were performing well above statistically, which is of course great to see. We do have the highest expected goals per game, or maybe one of the highest. I shouldn't have said the highest, I'm not sure quite yet. But for the conceded per game, we are on 0.55, and with the shots on target ratio, we are on 42.47%. Now for the passing in possession, when we are in possession of the ball, we are making a lot of passes, but we are also accurate with our passes as well. In possession, we infrequently win the ball because mainly we are on the ball, and we have been reliable in possession. So we can see more reliable in possession stats here as well. We are attempting fewer dribbles in the league, but we are still reliable in possession when we are in possession of the ball, of course. With the attacking efficiency, we have been aggressive with our shooting, but we've also been very, very clinical as well. Always a good thing. And we can see here that we have been aggressive with high quality shooting. And with the defensive efficiency, you can see that we were quiet in defense and impenetrable. We are kind of miles away from the rest of the pack in the Premier League in terms of defending. We defended quite well throughout the whole season. And you can see here as well, we did make fewer blocks during the season and we made fewer clearances because we are defending very little. With the tackling, we are attempting a fair amount of tackles per game, but we have a strong tackling record. We are attempting a lot of tackles per game, but we are also completing those tackles. With the XG table, we are on top of the XG table with 78.7 expected points. But with the expected goals, we have the most with 84.4. And with the expected goals against, we have the 3rd best with 33.7. Liverpool have 32.7 and Manchester City have 31.7. It seems that all of us love that 0.7. But that there is the data hub all wrapped up. We can now look at the squad stats, who were the top goal scorers, the top assists, and just the best average rated players. Now for the top goal scorer, we do have Romelu Lukaku with 52 goals in 49 starts. Absolutely incredible. But Kai Havertz was equally impressive with 22 goals in 46 starts. Mason Mount has 9 goals in all competitions, Timo Werner has 6, Antonio Rudiger has 6, and Hakim Ziyech also has 6. With the assists, we have Mason Mount on 20, that's a high number, Reece James on 18 and Kai Havertz on 10. So we can see who were the main creators. It was the left wing back, because we can see also with Marcos Alonso on 8, it was the 2 attacking midfielders and that right wing back as well. Now for the highest average rated players, the top 5, Romelu Lukaku on 7.74, Mason Mount on 2nd place, Reece James in 3rd place, Kai Havertz in 4th place, surprisingly Antonio Rudiger in 5th place with 7.32. But unfortunately, that wraps up this video and this Thomas Tuchel Football Manager 2022 tactic. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure you are subscribed, make sure you like this video, make sure you leave a comment. All of that will help the channel, and also downloading that OneFootball app. It was a pleasure recording this video for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Shout out to my patrons as well. I'll speak to you guys soon. Stay safe and peace out.